Welcome to the TBC Podcast. If you enjoy this audiobook summary and analysis, don't forget to subscribe and like for more. Today we're diving deep into communication skills, exploring how to talk to anyone, understand people better, and truly make your words matter.
It's like learning that secret language, the one everyone speaks but no one ever teaches you.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you just can't seem to get your point across, it's like we're speaking different languages.
Perfect analogy. And, so many people think communication is all about like finding the perfect words or sounding super smart.
So not like having a huge vocabulary.
No. The real magic is in making people feel understood. Like think about a time when you really felt heard by someone.
It wasn't just their words, right? It was more like they were really present. Like what I was saying was the most important thing.
Exactly. And that's where so many of us stumble. We get caught up in what we're going to say next and forget to really listen. It's like this game of me, instead of actually connecting.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged. So how do we break out of that me game and start actually listening?
Imagine you're playing catch with a friend, right? If you're only focused on throwing the ball, you're going to miss catching it when it comes back to you.
Okay, I see that.
Listening's the same. You got to quiet your mind and focus on catching those words and feelings the other person is throwing.
So no more mentally planning my next brilliant point while they're talking.
It's a little like training a puppy, It takes practice to resist those impulses and really focus.
Oh, okay, I love that image. But honestly, how do I actually do that? Quieting my mind.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
One trick that can help is to think like a detective, Don't just hear the words, but observe everything. Their tone, their face, their body language is all part of their story.
So I'm not just listening to their words, but trying to crack the whole code.
You got it. And another thing detectives do, they ask the right questions. So instead of jumping in with your own thoughts, try asking things that show you're really tuned in. Like, how did that make you feel? Or, what happened next?
So be curious. Like, I genuinely want to hear their story.
Exactly. People open up when they feel understood. That's how real conversations start to flow. Here's a challenge for you. Next time you're talking to someone, try just listening without offering advice.
Wow. That's going to be tough. I always want to jump in and fix things.
I know. It feels unnatural at first. Trust me, makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Imagine a little kid telling you about their scraped knee. Do they want a lecture on safety, or do they want you to understand how much it hurts?
Okay, I see your point. Sometimes just listening is the best thing. But what about when things get heated? Like in an argument. That's when it's really hard to listen.
That's when empathy becomes your superpower. Imagine you and your friend are building a Lego tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they accidentally knock it over. You could get mad and yell, or you could try to understand how they're feeling. Maybe they're upset too or embarrassed.
So instead of blaming, I try to see it from their side.
It's like putting on their glasses for a minute and seeing the world through their eyes. You don't even have to agree with them. Just try to understand why they feel the way they do.
Makes sense. So empathy is like a bridge, even when we disagree.
Exactly. And when you practice empathy, you build trust. It's like saying, hey, I care about you even when things are tough.
Like building a strong foundation for a house. Without trust, the whole thing could crumble.
Exactly. And trust isn't built with big gestures. It's the little things that add up. Being consistent, owning your mistakes, being honest, even when it's hard.
Like being a reliable friend. Always there no matter what.
People trust those who are genuine. Those who aren't trying to be someone they're not. Think of it like this. If you're always wearing a mask, people will eventually see through it.
That's so true. It's like trying to squeeze into shoes that are too small. Everyone can tell it's uncomfortable.
The most trustworthy people are the ones who are comfortable in their own skin. They don't have to pretend. And that authenticity, that's magnetic. It draws people in.
So honesty and authenticity are the keys to building trust.
Exactly. And when you have that trust, you can accomplish amazing things together.
This is making me think about all the times I felt misunderstood or like I couldn't get my message across. Seems like trust and empathy were the missing pieces.
You hit the nail on the head. Trust and empathy, they're the foundation for any successful relationship, whether it's with a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger.
So we've got active listening, empathy, building trust. It feels like these are all pieces of the puzzle fitting together to make communication really work.
You're exactly right. And in our next segment, we're going to take these skills to the next level and see how to use them to navigate even the toughest conversations.
I'm ready to level up. So for our listeners who are eager to learn more, be sure to tune in for part 2 of our deep dive into communication skills.
Welcome back to our deep dive into communication skills.
Round 2! I'm ready. Last time we were talking about building trust, empathy, active listening. It felt like Laying the foundation to become a communication master?
Exactly. And now we're going to take those skills and see how they work in those like high stakes conversations. The ones that make your palms sweat and your heart race a little.
Like asking for a raise or telling someone difficult news. Those are the ones I really want to master.
We've all been there, right? It's
Huh?
like walking a tightrope. One wrong step and it's all over. But there are ways to stay balanced even when the pressure is on.
Okay, tell me everything. How do I become a communication acrobat, fearlessly handling those tricky conversations?
First, remember those deep breaths we talked about? Those are your secret weapon. When things get intense, it's easy to get swept up in the emotions.
Oh, for sure.
But if you can take a moment to pause and breathe, you'll stay grounded. Think more clearly.
So it's like hitting the pause button on a movie when things get too intense.
Exactly. And when you're calm, you can think straight.
Mm-hmm.
That's where clarity comes in. Imagine you're trying to explain something complicated to a friend, like how to build a Lego set. If your instructions are all jumbled, they're going to get frustrated.
Oh, I've been on both sides of that. And then the whole project falls apart.
Exactly. So in these high-stakes conversations, be direct and kind, but avoid beating around the bush or sugarcoating things. Like those Lego instructions, keep your message clear and easy to understand.
Okay, got it. Calm and clear. What else?
Remember those detective skills we were talking about? They're super important here. It's not just about hearing the words, but understanding the emotions behind them. Pay attention to their body language, their tone of voice, even the silences. They all tell a story.
Like I'm reading between the lines, trying to decipher the secret code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you understand where they're coming from emotionally, you can adjust your approach. It's like a game of chess. You got to anticipate their next move and plan your strategy.
Whoa. Communication's like a strategic game. I like that.
It is. And one of the best moves you can make is to reframe the conversation. Imagine you're arguing with your sibling about a toy.
Right.
Instead of focusing on the problem, what if you focused on finding a solution that works for both of you?
So it's like turning a tug of war into a team project.
Exactly. Instead of trying to win, you're working together to find a solution that benefits everyone. It's like building a bridge instead of digging a deeper trench.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we're not opponents. We're partners trying to reach a common goal.
Precisely. And to do that, we need to create space for the other person to speak. Imagine you're trying to pour water into a glass that's already full. It'll just overflow.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I keep talking, they won't have a chance to share their thoughts.
Exactly. So resist that urge to jump in or interrupt. Let them speak their mind fully, even if you don't agree with everything they say. It's like letting the water settle before you try to add more.
So I'm listening with an open mind, even when it's hard.
Exactly. And when they're finished, try validating their feelings. You don't have to agree with them, but you can acknowledge how they feel. It's like saying, I hear you and I understand why you're upset.
To give them a warm hug, even if you're still figuring things out.
Exactly. And sometimes just feeling heard is enough to de-escalate the situation. It's like letting some of the air out of a balloon before it pops.
These analogies are really sticking with me. I'm starting to see how all of this works in real life.
And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Remember, communication is a skill, just like playing an instrument or learning a new language. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
Okay, so we've talked about staying calm, being clear, using our detective skills, reframing the conversation, creating space for the other person. These are powerful tools.
They are. But like any tools, they need to be sharpened and maintained. Communication isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process, learning and growing.
So how do we keep those skills sharp? It's easy to flip back into old habits when things get stressful.
You're right. The key is self-awareness. It's like looking in a mirror and asking, am I being the best communicator I can be?
So I'm checking in with myself, noticing how I'm showing up in conversations.
Exactly. And sometimes we need a little help seeing ourselves clearly. That's where feedback comes in. It can be scary to ask for it, but it's one of the best ways to grow.
So it's like asking a friend for fashion advice.
Yeah.
They can see things I can't.
Exactly. Ask trusted friends, family members, colleagues how they feel when they communicate with you. Do they feel heard, respected, understood?
Okay, so self-awareness and feedback are like our communication coaches, helping us see our blind spots and improve our game.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Talk to people who are different from you, who have different perspectives and experiences. The more diverse your communication, the more adaptable and confident you'll become.
It's like traveling to different countries, learning about new cultures. It expands your horizons.
Exactly. And remember, communication is always evolving. New technologies, new ways of thinking, new challenges, it's all part of this amazing world of human connection.
So we need to be lifelong learners when it comes to communication.
Absolutely. And one of the most important things to learn is how to connect with others on an emotional level. In a world that's becoming increasingly digital and fast-paced, that human connection, it's more valuable than ever.
So even though technology is changing how we communicate, the fundamentals of human connection stay the same?
Exactly. People crave authenticity, empathy, genuine connection. Those who can deliver those things will always be in demand.
Okay, so we've explored how to build those strong communication skills and use them in those high-stakes conversations. Now I'm wondering, how do we use those skills to really make an impact on the world?
That's a great question, and that brings us to the heart of communication's power, inspiring lasting change. That's what we'll explore in our final segment.
I'm ready for the grand finale. For our listeners who are eager to discover those secrets of inspiring change, be sure to tune in for part 3 of our communication deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of communication skills. We've talked about building trust, navigating tricky conversations, and even conquering public speaking. But now I'm curious, how do we take all of this and actually make a difference in the world?
That's the question, isn't it? It brings us to, I think, the ultimate goal of communication, inspiring lasting change. It's like planting a seed that grows into something much bigger than ourselves, something that keeps having an impact long after we're gone.
So it's not just about, getting our point across. It's about creating that ripple effect.
No. Exactly. And to create that ripple, we need to start with purpose. Like, imagine you're building a house. If you don't have a blueprint, you just end up with a jumbled mess. But with a clear vision, you can create something strong and beautiful.
So before we even open our mouths, we need to know what we want to build.
Exactly. What change do you want to see? What message do you want to leave behind? Once you have that clarity, everything else kind of falls into place.
It's like having a compass guiding us on our communication journey.
And as we journey, we got to remember people are moved by emotion just as much as logic. Think about the stories that have stayed with you, the ones that made you laugh or cry or really feel something.
Oh, absolutely. It's those emotional stories that we remember long after we've forgotten all the facts and figures.
Exactly. So when you're trying to inspire change, don't just present dry facts and figures. Share stories that touch people's hearts. Help them see and feel and experience the change you're talking about.
So it's like painting a picture with words, creating a vision so powerful that people can't help but be moved by it.
And one of the most powerful ways to paint that picture is by empowering others. Real leaders don't just tell people what to do, they inspire them to take ownership of their own change.
So it's not about giving orders. It's about giving people the tools and the encouragement they need to create their own transformation.
Imagine you're teaching someone to ride a bike. You wouldn't just push them down a hill and hope for the best. You'd give them support and guidance and let them find their own balance.
It's about creating a safe space for people to experiment, learn, and grow at their own pace.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to do that is by asking thought-provoking questions. Instead of giving all the answers, encourage them to think for themselves, explore different perspectives and come up with their own solutions.
So I'm like a guide on a journey,
Mm-hmm.
helping people discover their own path instead of forcing them to follow mine.
And of course, actions always speak louder than words. If you want to inspire change, you have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
It's like that saying, right? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. People are far more likely to be inspired by what you do than by what you say. So be a role model for the change you want to create. Live your values authentically with integrity.
Show people it's possible by embodying it ourselves.
And remember, real change takes time. It's not a quick fix. It's a journey that unfolds step by step. So be patient, be persistent, and never give up on the vision.
Like planting a garden. You have to tend to it, nurture it, and trust that it will blossom in its own time.
Exactly. And as you cultivate that garden, remember to celebrate the small wins along the way. Acknowledge the progress and encourage everyone around you to keep going.
This has been so inspiring. It's really amazing to think that we all have the power to create positive change through communication.
We do. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Communication, it's more than just a skill. It's a gift. It's a superpower we all have. It's this ability to connect, to share ideas, to inspire, and to make the world a better place.
So it's not just about the words. It's about the impact.
Exactly. Use your voice, your story, your unique perspective to create the change you want to see.
Thank you so much for this incredible journey. It's been an honor to explore the world of communication with you.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Remember, the power is in your hands. Use it wisely, use it with purpose, and never underestimate the difference you can make.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into communication skills. We hope you enjoyed this journey and that you'll continue to explore all the amazing possibilities of human connection. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe and like for more deep dives into the world of knowledge.